How's it going? Welcome back to another great video with your host, The Savior. Yes, I'm not clinically depressed.
I have crippling depression.
Rest assured, you're in safe hands with me, okay? I'm gonna give you some hot knowledge. So if you are new, if you want to become a wise boy today, make sure that you do subscribe, join this fantastic community. I work super hard on my content every single week, and I post so many different videos, from gaming content to philosophical videos to video essays. So if you like on-time reviews and covering games from the past and the most new games coming out right now, then you're in the right place. Make sure that you do subscribe and become a wise boy. Don't be left behind with the dum-dums, okay? So today I'm going to be giving you my Payday 3 review, and it just feels like this year has been absolutely crazy. It's just a roller coaster of good content, okay? And for a very long time I felt like gaming and modern gaming especially was just going downhill, generic and bland, and you know, the gaming industry were just full of liars, shills, like YouTubers, you know, basically praising the game in the previews, and then on release, oh, that's a surprise, I'm completely shocked. This game's actually a piece of shit, it's completely broken, but I shilled it anyway. Oh, how did all this money get here? I'm so surprised.
Shut up and take my money.
And of course then we have the big jokers like IGN and the big outlets in the gaming industry who seem to think it's a good idea giving a game a score out of 10 because of course a review is simply objective and there is only one true high knowledge, not Lord Jesus Christ. Only IGN are enlightened enough, and only they have the power and the knowledge to know what makes a good game and what makes a bad game.
Honkai Star Rail is the best free-to-play game of the year so far.
Amazing review, amazing game.
This is a sadly lackluster follow-up to Modern Warfare 2019's refined take on a Call of Duty campaign.
6 out of 10. IGN died long ago.
But I digress, because finally it looks like the industry is learning and gaming has kind of reached a new renaissance, because we've got banger release after banger release this year. Everything has been polished and it hasn't been broken on release. Game developers and especially the publishers seem to understand now that lying to the consumers is not a good idea. That's not how you sell more copies. So we haven't got like completely manipulated gameplay for a while, which is very nice to see. And it just feels like Christmas has come early this year, because Payday is absolutely an amazing franchise, and I was with it day one, okay? When Payday first released back on the PlayStation 3, I played the hell out of it, and the Xbox, whatever, I don't know, but I played both consoles, okay? Don't shoot me, I don't care which one is good, they're both good, they both have exclusives that are nice. Payday 1 was a super interesting idea, it just needed to be fleshed out, and then with Payday 2, I think the community absolutely fell in love, and Payday 2 still to this day is one of the most played multiplayer games of all time, and for good reason, because the developers keep updating it. There's always new DLCs, each heist feels unique and fresh, and there's just so much customization, and it's just a fun shooter with tactical elements, you know, and it's basically a wave shooter if you boil it down, but then there's so many added things on top of it that makes it so interesting. And I think that's why Payday is so successful, because it's basic in formula, but then they make it more tactical and complicated by adding all of these layers onto it. And then, like a fine lasagna, finally we've got Payday 3, which is simply incredible.
Listen up, motherfuckers! This is a robbery! Down! Down! Don't mind if I do. Gotcha. Hold up, Hawks.
So I do hope you enjoy this Payday 3 review and this Payday 3 game review. Do not worry, it is spoiler free and it's based on the early access of the game. You know, the few levels that have actually been playable, and early access is right around the corner. So this is not based on the full game. I say that now to be transparent. I do my game reviews early to make sure that we don't get basically lied to by the gaming media and by the bigger studios and outlets that just shill everything, just looking at the game for what it is and telling you all the facts and all of the research that I've done myself and my hands-on and all that kind of stuff. So I do hope you enjoy this Payday 3 review, and I give you positives and negatives. That's how I like to do my reviews. But with this one, with this extensive knowledge that I've done, there haven't been many negatives, I've got to say. So I've just left the negatives until the end of the video because there are basically only 3 negatives I have. Everything else is positives, so let's just get into it. So now Payday 3 has been upgraded. It's basically Payday 2 on crack, on speed, okay? It's going fast, okay? It knows how to cook, because now it looks good, but there are so many more layers to the gameplay. It just feels far more immersive with how NPCs react and all of this new stuff that you can do in stealth mode and interacting with the civilians and all that kind of stuff, which I'm going to get into. Stealth is now a completely viable option, where before it was kind of a little bit busted and you had to be super precise with stealth, and you still do have to be very careful if you want to make a complete stealth heist work. But now it actually feels like a full playable style, because I think a lot of the community wanted it, and now here it is. And there's just so much more dynamic gameplay going on now, with like trading hostages, the way the NPCs react to your presence in the world space and all that kind of stuff. It now feels much more immersive and like you are a professional criminal, a professional bank robber and all that kind of stuff. And we've never had that true experience in gaming before. You know, games like GTA and stuff, they've kind of mimicked it, but it was always kind of artificial. Now this is literally the best experience you can possibly get with that type of genre.
Shut up and take my money.
One of the major reasons that I don't see many people talking about, the reason that I truly loved Payday and Payday 2, was the OST, the music, the soundtrack. It's always so good, and it just makes you fired up. It makes you just go balls to the wall, absolutely crazy. And speaking of music, if you do like electronic, heavy, industrial kind of cyberpunk music, my new album Nova has just been released on Spotify. Give my music a chance on Spotify. You will be pleasantly surprised how good it actually is, dare I say. And if you do enjoy it, make sure you do save it and add it to a playlist, and that would mean a lot to me. So check it out now on Spotify. And the final quick shilling before we get into the main meat and potatoes of this Payday 3 review is simply asking you again to subscribe, because I put so much hard work into my videos and I truly care about this community and what we're doing here. So please do join me. I try and be honest and transparent, and I try and make content that benefits you and makes your life better in any way that I can. So it would just mean a lot to me if you do join the community of Wise Boys. I'm not a giant channel yet making super brand deals every single video, so your support does mean a lot. So do consider becoming a member today to support me, or just dropping a donation. Thank you very much. For FPS, for combat, okay, it just feels so much better now. All of the guns have much more realistic recoil, and they just feel much more better to use. It does feel much more like a Call of Duty or Battlefield when it comes to the gameplay now, because it just sounds good, the gunfire sounds great, it looks better with the animations and your reloading animations and all that kind of stuff, and the hit detection is just far better now, where before sometimes it didn't feel like you were sometimes hitting the enemies. Now they actually react and they stagger, and it just feels so much better now, and they've just fine-tuned for shooting. So this is actually a really good first-person shooter, as well as a tactical kind of heist game as well. Another positive is the enemy AI has improved a hell of a lot, okay? I cannot say the same for your friends and the friendly AI, because they still act like mindless zombies, but don't worry, they usually won't get you into any trouble if you are playing a solo heist. But the enemy AI is just far better now. They react much more realistically. Yes, if you do get seen where you're not supposed to, they will react and you will get instantly, into some hot water, and that's realistic. I like that. It's not an easy game if you want to play it stealthily, but they react a lot more realistically, and the fact that they give you second chances now when you are detected, I'll talk about that more later. But just the enemy AI is just a lot better, the way they flank and actually try and take you out more tactically with all of these different enemy types, like snipers, like the zappers, like the new one that chucks gas grenades and different types of grenades depending on if you're surrounded by civilians or not. It's just way more reactive, and the civilians now have like different dialogue, and it's just so much better. So as time progresses, the enemies will get more and more difficult, but before they were kind of clumped together because they didn't exactly know what to do or where you were, but now they will actually find you and they are just much more tactical and realistic, which is a massive improvement. So the graphics are of course a lot better now if you care about that type of thing. The smoke effects and all that stuff just looks great, and you know, when you're shooting your weapon it just feels a lot more immersive, and this Unreal Engine upgrade I think did do a lot, not just with the graphics but with the gameplay, because they've added all of this extra features. And on to the next positive. I already talked about how good the sound is. It just sounds a lot better now, much more realistic with the guns, but this is the main positive of this Payday 3 review if you ask me, because this is what made the game so fun to begin with, in my opinion, okay? And that was casing the joint, you know, going in as a, you know, just an innocent civilian, that's what it looks like, but secretly you're looking at all the cameras, where they are, you know, you're planning out your escape route and all that kind of stuff. But with Payday 2 and the original Payday, you couldn't do that much in stealth mode before you mask up and take out your gun, okay? You basically, if you wanted to take out things stealthily, you would have to mask up, and then of course you're easily detectable. But now in casing mode you have so much opportunity to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So now you can actually pickpocket security guards to get access to new areas, you can lockpick to get into new areas, you can disable the security cameras and the security system to buy you more time. You can actually now not only plan your escape route but actually unlock new escape routes and, you know, basically find new areas that you wouldn't be able to. And it's broken down into a public area system and basically a private system. So obviously if you're in the public area you're not going to be easily detectable, but if you are in a private area they will react realistically, not just like mindless NPCs where they will just shoot you on sight or get crazy just because you're in an office area or something like that. No, now they will actually just ask you to leave or what you're doing here, and they will give you a chance to leave, and the second time this happens they will actually arrest you, which is such a cool feature. So you have to do a lot, so you actually have to do a lot to actually get detected and to get into real trouble. They will usually give you a second chance, but of course if you mask up and you've got your guns out then they already know what the hell's going down. So it just feels a lot more immersive and a lot more fleshed out, and for me this was a big part of what made the game so fun. Yes, it was kind of a bit of a goofy game in Payday 2 as well, which was always fun, you know, like literally just choking out an enemy and then bagging them up, and then you know, you would literally just chuck these duffel bags around with a corpse inside. That was always fun. But or am I just crazy? Another positive is basically every time you go into a new heist, the map will basically randomly generate new events. Okay, so the security guards will be in different locations, there will be different civilians doing different things, but if you're already loaded into a heist and something goes wrong, if you reset, then don't worry, it's not all going to reset, so you can learn exactly where the enemies patrol and all that kind of stuff if you really want to be 100%, you know, like a professional bank robber. You can do that, so that's super cool, and it's just a nice improvement. So you can really master the level and the heist that you're doing. I just feel like with the casing mechanic now, it just adds way more replayability to the game that we just didn't get in Payday 2, and the fact that we have so many different heists and we know we're going to get some crazy DLC, this game has a lot of variation to it, and I think that's what keeps everyone coming back to it. And now with stealth being a proper mechanic, it just makes it even more better. It's just Payday that we loved, but it's just improved upon in so many ways. So that's the main takeaway to this Payday 3 game review, is it's just the same old game, but it's a lot better. For me, what makes the game so special is the detail and the amount of care and attention that developers put into their games and the atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. You know, if you look at Far Cry 2 and the detail in that and the physics compared to the new Far Cry games, you can just see how modern gaming just doesn't care about that kind of stuff, and they just want more checklist content. But Payday 3 is very detailed, and I think that's just something that we don't get in most modern games now. So the game actually reacts to player destruction, okay? So if you're in an art gallery and a breakout does occur and there's a massive shootout, then, you know, it will be completely destroyed by the end of it. So don't expect the same quality as something like Battlefield, but there is a lot of destructible environments now, and it just makes it feel even more chaotic and immersive. So now on to the final few positives of this review of Payday 3, and that is the hostages, okay? They aren't just simple NPCs now that will buy you some time. Now you can be way more tactical, and they feel much more like real people, so you actually care if you basically destroy a bunch of hostages, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you don't want to do that now because they actually react a lot more realistically. So it's super cool now because you can now use them as human shields. You can trade them to basically buy yourself some time, and so the enemies don't just go completely apeshit and send a juggernaut after you. Stuff like that, which just makes it feel much more tactical, or you can use them as a human shield. And now let's quickly just talk about the perk tree, and I think they did a much better job in Payday 3 than Payday 2, because now you're not boxed into like one type of playstyle, because now you can pick and choose from a kind of skill tree path, but you don't have to follow a exact route down that perk tree path. You can level up in something in stealth, for example, but then choose the perks that you want, and this just means each player will have much more player agency and different player builds. So
Shut up and take my money.
So for example, your friends might also level up in stealth, but their playstyle will be different because they might have different perks from you. You don't all have to follow the same direct route. So I do hope you enjoyed this Payday 3 review, and I hope you like the positive and negative system. I don't give you a score at the end of the video because it's down to you. I respect your intelligence enough to basically figure out if this game is for you or not, but obviously the positives outweigh the negatives, which I'm just quickly going to talk about, and they're pretty minor. So the first thing is there are some bugs, like people just kind of glitching out or something like that, but nothing major, and like I said, this is from early access. It just takes me out of it when I see your player character or your friends or enemies just clip through, the environment. Their guns just kind of melt through the wall and stuff like that. So there's no collision detection, which I wish there was, but it's pretty minor if you ask me. And basically, like I said, the friendly AI, if you're not playing with real people, that still sucks a lot. And the only other complaint is I just wish they went bigger. I wish they went more open with the levels. Yes, some of them are big, and I'm sure there are going to be ones that I haven't seen, and they're going to be much bigger. It just would have been cool to have it more as like a mini hub open world level instead of just, more tight levels. But I think this allowed them to add more detail and all that kind of stuff, so I am glad that they did do that. But it just would have been interesting to see a Payday game that does go a little bit more open, I think. But at the end of the day, there's still tons of customizations. At the end of the day, there is still so much to do in this game. There is a lot of customization. Of course, the cosmetics and the masks are always fun. And, unlocking new weapons and modifying them, that is all just the same, pretty much. But it just feels even better now because there's just more ways to upgrade your weapons and all of these cool different gadgets that you can unlock. So I do think Payday 3 will be a massive success, just like the second game. And I think people will be playing Payday 3 for a very long time. So that's pretty much it. I do hope you enjoyed this Payday 3 game review. It's just nice to see developers who are passionate about what they do and focus down on what made their original games better instead of trying to simplify it. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Make sure you do subscribe and have a great day. I'm gonna go